Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the ROKER Rapport podcast. I'm in Stockholm, which is a little far away from my own home. I'm with, I would say, Sunderland's favourite ever Swede. We've got competition from Stefan Schwartz.
Yeah.
Sebastian Larsson, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, tired, cold.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I know it's freezing over here at the moment. Spring was coming last week. I forgot about it because I haven't been in Sweden during spring for so long. But yeah, spring's definitely slower here than in England, that's for sure.
How are you enjoying being back home?
Oh, it's been great. Obviously, for me and the family, you know, I had 17 years in England. My wife was over there for 14 and both our kids were brought up there, mainly in the northeast. So yeah. I think we just got to the point where we felt it was the right time to go back to Sweden and try and sort of give the kids that stability of knowing they're going to be in one place for a little while. And it's been great, obviously. I came midway through last season and we were successful with AIK and winning the league for the first time in 9 years, which was fantastic. And now we've just started again. So we crack on.
So are your kids Sunderland fans?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the one Stadium of Light is the one stadium they've been to more than anything else. They were always at the games. They always, more or less every home game with my wife, they used to go and they enjoyed it. Maybe they didn't always watch the football that much, but they loved the surroundings and, you know, just being in the stadium with a lot of people. And I think it really felt like home for them, you know. That's one of the things that I would love to do is go back and sit in the stand at Stadium of Light and watch a game as a fan. I always keep track of the scores now. I've been able to watch a couple of the games and just touch wood, they'll go back up to the championship this year.
I always like to start with like a kind of standard easy question before we get difficult. So I lull you into a false sense of security. But you played for us for 6 seasons, a lot of different partners. Who's your favourite and why?
Oh, good question. I'd have to say when I later in my Sunderland career, when I played in the middle of the park, I always enjoyed playing with cats. First of all, it's a very good friend of mine. It's a guy that I got along with really well, and you always knew what you were going to get. There was no hiding from his side. And if he needed to tell you off, he would bollock you and vice versa. And I enjoyed that. I think that's the way it should be. And sort of he always gave you that bit of protection as well, if you like. He was always willing to sort of clean up for you if you made a mistake and put his foot in or put his head in or whatever. So I really enjoyed playing with him. Like you said, there were so many different players. Early on, I enjoyed playing with, when I was on the wing with Bardsley. Again, another very honest guy. But I like that. I like knowing who I'm playing with. And I like to think that people would say that about me, being honest. You don't always have the best game, but you always try your best.
100%.
So those are sort of the partners that I really enjoy playing with. There was many, but if I pick two in two different positions, I'd say those two.
Good choices. So we'll take you all the way back to the beginning, which I think most of us remember quite clearly. I know that one of the obvious answers when I say why Sunderland would be, well, Steve Bruce, your former manager, someone that you got on with very well. So away from Steve Bruce, was there other clubs interested in why Sunderland?
Yeah, there was definitely interest my main focus was staying in England. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah. I've always loved England and especially the Premier League. So when the opportunity for me was there to stay in England, that was my number one priority. There was quite a few clubs in England that showed interest, but it became pretty clear pretty quick for me that Sunderland was my number one target. One reason was Steve Bruce. I'd worked with him previously and I enjoyed working with him. But then Sunderland felt like the right step. It felt like a big step up for me coming from Birmingham. Yeah. the size of the club, the facilities, the stadium, the training ground, the support you get week in and week out. And for me at the time, there was a clear sort of path of what the club was trying to do, trying to push on to the next level.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're getting to that later on, but it didn't quite work out. But for me, it felt like a fantastic choice. And honestly, and this is really honest, I've been asked the questions before. I've never regretted the choice.
Someone wanted me to ask, and I suppose it's on the line with sort of a more basic question, but you scored some absolute beauties. Let's be honest about it. What was your favourite?
I didn't score as many late on in my Sunderland career, but I scored a few good goals. I would say two. I would say, for obvious reasons, my competitive debut against Liverpool, because it was a type of goal that I don't score very often as well, and at Anfield to give us a point. Yeah, that's just exactly the start you want at a new club. So that was fantastic. And then I would say there was a free kick away to Arsenal as well, which was good. In that case, unfortunately, I think it was Robin van Persie scored a free kick of himself late on, so they won the game 2-1. But
good choices. I would think for sheer how drunk I got afterwards, I picked Blackburn at home. But
that's true. But I'm sure if I would have scored against Newcastle, for sure I would have said that. But unfortunately, I didn't.
We'll get to that bit. Your first season, you scored, if my memory is right.
He is a mad Sunderland fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he is.
But
he's our assistant coach.
For the purpose of the recording, someone just showed a photo of your assistant coach.
Our assistant coach. Shirt. Yeah, and
he's Swedish.
He's Swedish, yeah, but he follows. He comes in and talks about every game. Oh, did you see him? And he watches most games when he can. Obviously, when we don't. Yeah, he's a really.
We should have had him in.
Yeah, we should have. Trying to get him in at the end.
So I think your first season, as I was saying, I think it was 9 goals. If my memory serves me right, and most of them were from. I think you started on the left, weirdly enough, but then obviously moved to the right, and then most of your time at Sunderland was spent in the centre of midfield. I think that's how most of us remember you. But were you quite frustrated when it first happened that you were moved from the right after such a good season into the middle?
A bit of both. I wouldn't say frustrated. I kind of felt it was coming myself because obviously the older you get, you change the way you play a little bit. But for me personally, I think the main reason was that football was kind of changing a little bit. Yeah. From I was the typical wide man that I like working hard up and down the wing and using my right foot to cross the ball. Yeah. And try and get into the box. And it became clearer and clearer that most teams started playing with the good foot into the field and wanted like the fullbacks to be the ones crossing the ball. And for me then, I didn't feel like I could get everything out of my game. So I think it just became natural when that sort of change happened. I guess the frustrating thing early on was probably that moving into a position where it took a bit of time, where you felt like you were kind of looking for how should I be getting the best out of my game now, and just getting used to playing in a different position. I'd played a lot of centre midfield when I was younger, but then obviously throughout my career in England I was on the wing. But I think football just kind of changed, so it became natural that I kind of switched positions.
When Martin O'Neill came in, now obviously you mentioned about Steve Bruce before he was manager you worked under, but by the time you were here, he was gone in like 3 months. But in a really odd way, one of the best memories I have of Sunderland is that 3-month period where Martin O'Neill came in. And you sort of kicked that off with that goal against Blackburn, which we talked about before we were recording. What is it that Martin O'Neill changed and why do we play so well in that 3-month?
Good question. I wish we would have known exactly why, because then I'm sure it would have
continued.
It would have continued for a longer period of time. But no, listen, like I said, we managed to win that first game. We were in a tricky situation. We were 1-0 down. We were losing quite late into the game. David Vaughan scored a cracker to equalise, and I managed to score a free kick right at the end. It just kind of gave everyone a lift. You could sense the positive feel around the place. And we just kind of kicked on. And I think when Martin came in, because we got that good start, he was kind of like, everything lifted, the mood lifted.
Yeah.
And he kind of just let people go. And I know it might sound simple and that, but when we were in that good period, I think didn't we win 5 straight games in the league? Or
we were scoring like 30 yard screamers and last minute winners.
And things were just going well for us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to say exactly why, but at that stage, it was a happy place and a good place.
Yeah, it was a great place around that sort of time. You played under a lot of managers. Obviously, we touched on Martin O'Neill. We've touched on Steve Bruce already, sort of. But who was your favourite manager you worked under?
In a way, I'd say Martin O'Neill, for the simple reason that we were there during when we were in that happy period, in that good place, and we were moving in the right direction. And it was just a positive feel around the place. I know that changed later on in his tenure there, but for that reason, I'd say him. I think the way he wanted things done suited my own view on things quite well. And then again, which might sound a bit strange, like you said, Steve Bruce was only there for 3 months, and towards the end, we were not in we weren't winning football games, and we were struggling a bit. But obviously, I have a longer relationship with him, sort of thing, and I'll always be grateful for. He was the guy that brought me to Sunderland. And I think we also had. I also liked Gus Poyer's ideas of how he wanted to play football, what he wanted to do with the team. And I remember speaking to Katz about this during his time there and after he had left. I know other things changed and it became difficult with the fans and so on. And maybe he was a bit outspoken about certain things at times. But you felt like you were progressing as a player. And it was very clear how he worked in training, and you felt like this could make me a better player. So he was someone I enjoyed working under as well. I did enjoy most managers, to be honest, but there are spells. But I'd say Martin O'Neill, Steve Bruce for the reasons I've said, and spells during Gus Poyet as well.
Who do you think you played your best football under?
Probably have been spells under Martin O'Neill. On a personal level, I felt quite comfortable and quite good early on at the start of the Sunderland. I know we weren't picking up results, but I scored a few goals early on under Steve Bruce as well. I felt very confident in what I can contribute to the team. So I guess those two.
Yeah, cool. On maybe a more negative side, you played under some other managers. One of them very, very controversial.
Who could that be?
Paolo Di Canio, of course. Now I've spoken to Bordeaux myself. We've interviewed a few people from that period, from Bordeaux downwards, we should say. How was your personal experience with Paolo? Because from a fan's perspective, he gave us that amazing day at St. James's.
Yeah.
You could just see the players weren't enjoying it.
And I get that, and I know. Listen, I know what it means. And I was there long enough for it to mean that much to me as well, those games, and how special they were. So I totally get that thing, the affection you get for a manager, sliding on his knees at St. James's Park after a 3-0 win. If I was just a fan, I'd feel the same.
Yeah.
I remember we beat Everton at home 1-0, and he was kind of, when everyone left, he went onto the pitch, and he was, I guess, very good at that.
Yeah.
Playing along with the fans. Not playing along, but getting the fans on your side, which was good for us at the time.
Of course. Yeah.
But listen, I don't know how to sum that up without speaking for ages. It was a very sort of strange, surreal. I would say this, when he first came in, I think we had sort of like maybe 6 or 7 games left of the season. 7
or so, yeah.
And we worked really hard. We worked long. But, we kind of said, we need to do this. We need to stay in the league. There's no other way. And I think, I'd say one thing. I think he got a lot of football knowledge. I think he sees the game, sees tactical things, knows about the game a lot. So I'd say that first period, the end of that season, was very positive. Yeah, you could see certain things that he wanted to do things completely different to previous managers. But hey, that's the way it is sometimes.
Yeah.
But for me, when it really started getting strange was the first day back for pre-season the next year. I remember he was completely different. And he mentioned things like, okay, last year I done things your way, now it's time for you to do things my way. And we were kind of like, well, what does it mean with that? We were, things worked out last year. It was a positive feel. And then, it was just a surreal time. It wasn't a long time, but I know, there was things like telling our masseur at the time that had been there the longest time that he wasn't allowed to travel with the team because he was talking too much to the players, and he was being too happy. And all of a sudden, he was a big part of our squad, the whole thing. And everyone loved him. He was, and those things, and it just became negative. You could see it from players walking through the door in the morning to staff, to the people in the kitchen, to the cleaning ladies. No one was smiling. It just became a poisonous place, to be honest. And people could say that, you're blaming someone else and so on and so on, and so be it if that's the case. But it became an environment that was impossible to work in. It just became poisonous. And, I think, unfortunately, the sooner things change, the better it was.
Regarding the change, I spoke to Mike Clegg, talked about before, and he touched on it ever so slightly about the meeting that was allegedly meant to happen. And he mentioned about John O'Shea, Collis Queller, I think, had sort of a meeting. Did that meeting actually take place?
With the manager?
I think along the lines where you asked sort of maybe Ellis Short to be like, look, we can't work under this anymore.
Yeah, listen, I was never part of any such phone calls speaking. So, but no, I don't think that was the case. That we or someone, I guess, was it John that was the captain at the time?
Yeah, he was.
Would have phoned up and sort of said, sack him or whatever. Was there what's the word? A brewing negativity from the squad towards the manager? Yeah, without a doubt. Did we sit down and have a meeting and talk about things? Yeah. And we sort of felt like we had to, because it was a case of things were so negative, the way I described. So we said, we'll have a meeting, we'll discuss things. And I think it was pretty clear that the majority felt like this is not going to work in the long run. And exactly what happened there after that, I'm not quite sure. But I also know there was a meeting, which I unfortunately wasn't allowed to be a part of. It was after the West Brom game. I wasn't in the squad for reasons that I still, I know the reasons, but I don't know who made them up.
What were the reasons?
I was told, we played Arsenal at home the game before, I think. I think it was an afternoon international break.
When Altidore scored the goal and they got disallowed, yes. I
remember, and I came back from international duty. We had a session. I don't remember the exact details, but I think John was injured at the time, and maybe a couple of lads that would normally be captain came to the stadium expecting to. I don't think we'd been given the team, but I was fully expecting to play. For tactical work and stuff. And I was just kind of told, you're on the bench, okay. And that was it. I was very frustrated, warmed up the whole game, never came on. I was kind of thinking, what's happened? And then turned up at training. I'll try and make a long story short. Turned up at training the next day. All of a sudden they split the group and, okay, midfielders, strikers that way, defenders that way. So I started walking to the midfielders and the assistant manager said, no, Seb, you're down there. Okay, what's happening there? Anyway, that happened for a few days until I went to the assistant manager after and said, why do I keep training with the defenders? What the hell's happened there? And he was like, no, that's just the way it is. So obviously, in the end, my agent at the time my agent phoned up Defante, the sporting director, or whatever it was, trying to get some answers because I didn't get any. And then Defante phoned him back saying, apparently, I had been not physically fighting with the not the physio, the fitness coach. He had an Italian fitness coach.
Donatelli?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. And it was just a story made up out of the blue. That I refused to warm up for the Arsenal game was one thing. which never happened. And I've been swearing in his face. I've been calling him all sorts, which never happened. We never had an argument. And we said, this is crazy. This has never happened. We don't know what's going on. Anyway, got closer to the West Brom game. Wasn't in the squad. There was a meeting after that game, I think called by the manager, because obviously it wasn't a great game. And from what I've heard, like I said, that became a very heated meeting where all sorts of things were said both ways. And obviously that was his last game.
Yeah.
I wish I was in that meeting, but unfortunately I wasn't. Me and another couple of lads, we had to sit in the gym and wait because we weren't part of the squad at that time, according to him.
Bardo wasn't even allowed in the...
No, exactly. So I guess maybe if he would have stayed longer, maybe I would have been where Bardo was. You never know.
One thing I've probably gone too far into because we've gone down the rabbit hole of Paolo Di Canio. One of my favourite Seb Larsson memories is City at home. Now, with G scores, everyone remembers G and Sessegnon, but everyone's seen the whole build-up, and that was a great day. You had flu and you passed out. What's your memories of the day?
No, I remember basically what you described, that I didn't feel well the previous day. I know the doctor came to my house and whatever, flu type thing. But listen, you don't want to miss a game like that, and we sort of agreed that, we'll give it a go. And basically, I remember that. So I think I was just stood there with hands on my knees, and we scored the winner later on. But there was just nothing left to go celebrate. So, but listen, you still enjoy it just as much. I was just a little bit extra tired. Yeah,
good memories. We've talked about Paolo, and then obviously Gus Poyet came in, and once Poyet came in, I don't so much think it was that Poyet was so positive. I think the negativity around there, just the Canio going, pretty much anyone could have come in at that point, but he also had a philosophy and an idea. And of course, that got us towards Wembley, which was amazing. And everyone had the greatest day and the great run and the great escape and everything. But we did lose at Wembley, unfortunately. And I heard that you spoke about Wembley not so long ago. And you discussed how the fact that we did lose, people don't remember the losers, but we had a great day. What's your memories of Wembley?
No, listen, I remember going to the stadium, going to Wembley, seeing all the Sunderland fans. When you're sitting on the bus like that, it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because it was just red and white. You didn't see no blue or nothing. It was just Sunderland all
Not
over.
much.
And you want to win for yourself because it's a major competition, it's a final, but you so badly want to win for the fans to give them something as well, especially when I've been at the club for a while.
It's like 4 seasons then, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. And obviously I've been to Wembley once, previous, been an underdog and managed to win and know what that felt like. And I also remember in the warm-up, we warmed up very close to the Sunderland fans, and honestly, you could just, when the roar came and we was warming up, the adrenaline was just pumping. I guess it's those type of moments that you'll never forget, and that's the reason you play football. So there's a lot of positive memories, but like I said, I don't want to sound too negative on it. But at the end of the day, it's a final. You either win or you lose, regardless of being favourites or not. Yeah, am I proud of being part of the team that got to Wembley with Sunderland in a major competition? Yeah, for sure. But that disappointment of losing, especially being 1-0 up and feeling like, you know what, we're doing okay here. Yeah. We felt fairly comfortable, if you can ever feel comfortable against City. There'll always be disappointment.
Yeah. Imagine how good it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's how I remember it, if you like.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this before we recorded. So one of my favourite memories ever is beating Newcastle. Numerous times as it was.
Mine too.
But the one in the last minute was fantastic. And I remember I rang my family and stuff like that as the first goal went in. And I was chatting on the phone, shouting down the phone and celebrating with the people I'd rang, because I thought that was it. And then you burst through on goal. Now there's 2 parts of this, so I'll word the question as best I can. One of the best memories I have of you, and I always talk about it, is when the first goal went in, you patted the badge right in front of the Gallagher. And I loved that because it was right in their faces. But say you rounded the goalkeeper, which you did. Say that went in the bottom corner, we won 2-0. How would you have celebrated it?
Oh, God knows. I really enjoyed that part. I enjoyed playing at St. James's Park for Sunderland. And I loved going out to take corners. I loved when you looked them in the face and they were just so angry.
Yeah.
So kind of disgusted with you. And this is true, I tried to walk as slow as I could to take it all in. Because you just know those are special games.
Yeah.
And obviously then when you're beating them away from home, you can just give them a little smile. That's all you need to do to get them even angrier.
Yeah.
And that's the best feeling ever. So I don't know if I would have... That's my one regret when it comes to Newcastle games, that I didn't manage to score. I was close a couple of times, but I never managed to get on the score sheet.
That was the closest.
That was the closest. That should have been a goal. I remember the situation. I remember like almost falling over, and next thing I've hit the side netting, and it's like, oh Jesus, just blow the whistle now to make sure we win anyway. But no, listen, my first ever memory was obviously a bad one. We lost 1-0 at home to Newcastle.
Your second game.
Yeah. And that's kind of when I don't ever want this to happen again.
And you didn't.
And we didn't, exactly. A couple of draws in there, I think. Was the second game was a draw, and possibly the third one was a draw. My third game as well. We drew away that season. They equalised late on, I think.
You did.
And then I think we drew the following game at home. And then I think we went on a...
Yeah, I think you set the goal up, Denver.
Exactly. Yeah. And then so those were obviously 3 games in, 1 defeat, 2 draws. And then we went on that run. Which was brilliant.
What do you think was your best performance in a derby? Because if memory serves me right, you got man of the match in the first 3-0.
Yeah, I remember that as being a game where things obviously went well, and it's difficult to say anything else when you beat your biggest rivals away from home 3-0. But it's a game that you feel yourself that things are working out the way you want them to, and not to talk myself up, but I really like them games. So, overall, I felt like I had some decent performances against Newcastle. And yeah, like I described, I just loved that atmosphere and playing in those games. And yeah, possibly obviously makes it a lot easier to say when you're on that run and you beat them all the time.
Around that sort of time frame as well, sort of with Poyet and things like that, we're obviously discussing a few different contracts with a few different players. I think it was Bardo, he who shall not be named, callback, and yourself. So you did sign the contract. I think you renewed for a further 2 years. The other 2 boys didn't.
Yes, like 3 years. I signed another
3 years, that's correct, yeah. Did you ever consider leaving at that point?
I guess it depends what consider leaving means. Did I think about my future? Yes. Did I kind of slow things down and go, well, what's best for me? What do I want to do? Kind of thing. Yeah, I had that period. But was I ever close to going somewhere else? No. There was interest shown. But from what I remember, we went away after the season, went on holiday with my family. My agent phoned up with a couple of clubs that showed interest. Then, if I'm not mistaken, it was Lee Congerton that had come in at that time.
Yeah.
Gus Poyet was the manager. I remember I went on international duty with Sweden.
Yeah.
I was in a hotel room in Denmark, and I had a phone conversation with Congerton and Poyet about the future. And that's kind of when I decided, no, I want to stay. First of all, because I loved the place. Me and my family were settled. We were happy in the area. And again, I think one of my biggest regrets is that there were so many times that we went into the summer break with such a positive feel.
Especially that summer.
Yeah. And like, this is the time to kick on. Surely now, we've shown what we can do. How you felt you left for your holidays so happy, looking forward to next season already.
Yeah.
And then things happened and we never kind of kicked on. And yeah, that's definitely one of my biggest, because I think there was definitely a good few years where we had as a club, such good opportunities to kick on and progress to the next level.
Yeah.
But for different reasons, we never did. But no, I was never close to leaving that. I was very happy signing again, and I could see a brighter future. I'm not going to lie, for sure. Otherwise, obviously, as you've got a short career. If I thought things were going to turn out the way they did, obviously maybe I would have considered something else. But there was, I just felt really good.
And you won Player of the Year following that season, is that right?
Yeah, maybe it was that season. Yeah.
Because then you had an injury the season later. Yeah. Unfortunately, under sort of Allardyce when Vila, Kirchhoff and all that came in. One question I wanted to ask with that is you'd been a regular for, I want to say 4 or 5 seasons at that point. And then you got that injury, which pretty much put you up for the majority of the season, I think.
Yeah, I started, I'm trying to think back, obviously, when did Big Sam come in? Was it
Big Sam came in October.
October, yeah.
Advocaat left around, I think it was the West
Ham.
Yeah,
that's game. Right. So he came in, and I started having some issues with my knee, but kind of not at the stage where I felt I needed to have surgery or anything. And then I kind of I wasn't regularly being put in the team by Sam.
Yeah.
To start with. And then I remember being sort of recalled, and we won, I can't remember who, but we won 2 games, consecutive games. Was it possibly we beat Palace away? It wasn't that.
Palace away and Stoke at home.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd started both those games, and great. I remember playing against Stoke at home, and I felt like I was having a good performance. And that's when I hurt my knee. I remember where it was. Down in the corner, I went to do a back heel, kind of got stuck a little bit, and I felt that something happened in my knee. And just when I got back in the team, we won 2 straight games, and that was sort of me out for not far off the rest of the season. Tried everything not to have surgery and different things. I was flying back and forth to Barcelona. I remember getting injections, went down to London. I got back towards the end of the season, but never felt right. And you're thinking, it just takes time. But then it just deteriorated again. So that was, a frustrating time.
Sure. How was your relationship with Allardyce?
It was okay. It was nothing. I guess the way you'd sum it up is that I don't think that I was his type of player that he would prefer in that position. Mm-hmm. And he probably didn't play the football that I think that I preferred to play, because I don't think it suited my game the best. So I guess sometimes things just don't click the way maybe they could, and that's not being negative towards anyone, or that's just the way it was. But there was no problems in the relationship, not at all.
Got a couple more. Mm-hmm. I wanted to move on to someone you did play a lot under. You came back from injury, and by the time you got back fully fit, well, to an extent, because I know you had another injury actually. David Moyes came in. Now, I'd be honest with you, I haven't heard much positive, and as a fan, I don't feel very positive. But the question I want to ask, because you've obviously you've played under Bruce, you've played under Paolo, you've played under Gus, you played some really good moments and some really difficult moments. So I think you are well placed to answer why it maybe went wrong under Moyes. What was so different about Moyes that we just couldn't? Well, we went down with a whimper as opposed to just getting.
No, there's no hiding from it. And I've always said that ultimately, at the end of the day, there's 11 players on the pitch at one time, and you don't. 99.9% of the time, you don't get relegated by being unlucky. It's as simple as that. If you get relegated, you deserve to get relegated, and you have to take that responsibility. And that was the case that year as well. I think there are a number of reasons. I think it was a difficult period when Moyes came in. I remember being on international, the Euros during the summer. Me and John O'Shea had like an extra week off. We flew down to France, I think, for our pre-season camp. And I think first team players, it was sort of like, there was barely anyone there. We had a very small squad at the time. It was full of under 20, what's it called now, under 23 players there. I think it was sort of a time where the owner had really decided to shut up shop, so to speak, more or less. And I also think that we were on a negative spiral. It's like it was there was so much negativity around the place.
Do you think he brought more of it though, with comments like being in a relegation battle?
Yeah. For sure, I don't think that helped. It doesn't help anyone because ultimately you have to do things together to try and lift it. Yeah. But I'm just trying to put the how I looked at it. I think we were definitely going in the wrong direction when he came in, and he came in a difficult situation. But I do also think that I remember that comment, and as a player, you go, "Whoa, yeah, that doesn't exactly fill you with positivity and confidence and belief." Yeah, that's basically your manager saying, "My players aren't good enough." Okay, I guess that's the way it turned out, but that's not what you want to hear 2 games into a season. My personal view is, I think he was really hurt by what had happened previously. From what I heard, obviously I had my view on him beforehand as a very lively character on the sideline, someone that could really, you don't want him angry kind of thing. But that's not the experience I had when I had him as a manager. So yeah, I guess I think he was really hurt by what had happened at United, and then obviously he didn't have the best of times in Spain. Yeah, and obviously we brought in a few players that he had previously at Everton, and I remember speaking to them, and they said he's very different. Yeah, he's very, very, very different to what he was at, because they described him as that character, the fiery Scottish guy that could get really angry and demanded so much.
Stephen Pienaar said exactly the same to me. We spoke to him a few months ago, and he said he was really different.
Yeah, and for me, when I think about it, I can only see one reason for it.
Experiences.
Being hurt, maybe lacking energy. Did he try his best? Yeah, of course, I'm sure he tried his absolute best. Why wouldn't anyone try his best? Did I get along with him as a man? Yeah, for sure. But I think he was really hurt. I don't think he had the energy that's required to being in a difficult situation as we were, and probably to stay in the league that year with everything. Yeah, we probably would have had to do something very, very good for what we had. But that's my opinion. Yeah.
With the end of that season came your departure as well. Now, to be honest with you, I was searching everywhere to see if you were offered the contract at that point, or whether you decided to leave. What was the situation regarding you leaving?
It kind of, I wouldn't say I was offered a contract as such. I wouldn't say I wasn't offered a contract as such. Yeah, there was discussions. I think there was discussions quite early on, and then they kind of went cold. Which, when I look back at it now, I can understand that situation with everything that was going on upstairs. Yeah. And then, obviously, like you said, we got relegated, went away. There was there was an offer made kind of mouth to mouth, not written, not sitting down in that sense. But I think at that point, me personally, I kind of made a decision that it was time to move on. And my belief is that with the way the last couple of seasons have been, well, definitely, I'd say for me personally, the last couple of seasons, I think I would have made that decision regardless of whether we stayed in the league or not. Yeah, I think it was my time to move on. You get to a point where I felt I needed to do that. So I think regardless, I think I would have moved on. You never know. But, and I remember it was tough. It was tough moving. It was tough for me. It was tough for my family. Because we felt, and I felt so at home. So in a perfect world, I would have loved to have stayed. And that's honestly the truth. I could have still been there if you're talking in the perfect world. Because there was nothing surrounding or things that made me want to leave. Mm-hmm. The other way around made me want to stay and relive some good memories up there. But just the way the last couple of seasons have been, I felt like, I wasn't young anymore. I felt like I had to try and do something else after a tough few years. Yeah, so that's the way it happened.
It's been sort of proven throughout the conversation we've had today, and I felt like I kind of knew this. There's a famous quote from Niall Quinn about Sunderland getting under his skin in other clubs. I really feel like you're someone that you can see Sunderland's there with you. I know you were here a long time, but it was instant. Felt. Yeah. What is it about Sunderland that gets under a professional football player's skin?
Well, for me personally, I think it was just, I guess, the people around the place and the fans ultimately. I felt really welcome when I got there. The way we got the backing, and you saw what it meant to people. It's hard to say exactly what, but everything. And I mean this, everything felt good on a professional level, and for me, which is very important for me, my family. It was always great. I've spoken to my wife about it. She can come to me and say, "Oh, I missed the times when we went to the Stadium of Light for games and so on." So yeah, no, it's come to of my former clubs, it's the first club results I look for sure. And like I said, I want to go back to the Stadium of Light, which you can obviously do regardless of what league they're in. I will do, but I think the club, the fans, the city deserves better football than at the moment. But like I said, I've spoken to Katz, and he seems really positive about the feel around the place. Yeah. He said that quite early on in the season, and that made me happy because it was a dark feel around the place. It wasn't, and I guess when I left, it must have become even worse with what happened.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and I felt like it was a dark sort of cloud hanging over the place before when I left. But touch wood, things turned for the better because there's so much possibility up there, and there's so much power up there if you get things right. I mean, the club can be flying again, and I'd love nothing more than to be sat at the Stadium of Light in the stands watching Premier League football. See Sunderland win. I'll be shouting my head off.
Seb, thanks very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.